start with the half-day consult or something that establishes that authority and relationship that you want to establish, where there's some exchange of money to you for doing a plan on how to do the stuff that then leads to, hey, you can go do that now, or let me do it for you, and here's how I would be willing to go do that.
Question for you. So I've got an opportunity, and it doesn't, fit a normal acquisition criteria, but before I walk away from it completely, which I want to decide this week whether to spend any more time on it or not,
Okay.
but it's just a solo guy, and he's got some really cool relationships with pro sports teams. He's in that business, so he knows all the equipment suppliers, and he's basically been selling surplus and used equipment used by pros for 7 to 8 years now. He's sold about $1 million worth of stuff, but it's just him basically. What he needs is two things. He needs capital to buy more inventory, and he excuse me, he also has a relationship that he can, he has a favor, in other words, that can get him in front of a big sports brand of which you would be familiar, that's in
Okay.
the sports, equipment, apparel, and collectibles industry. And that company is now doing deals and acquisitions pretty actively. So
Okay.
he wants not just some initial capital to make this more. He basically wants to make it more attractive, like put a little cash infusion in there, do some sales, because it dipped after COVID, because some of the sports teams just completely shut down for 2 years, especially in the hockey arenas, which is where his primary deal is. So he wants a United Front to do this meeting with, to try to get a bigger deal and some capital to kind of make this look better before he has that meeting. Not something worth doing a deal from a straight acquisition standpoint, because there isn't much of a business there. But my thought was, does it make any sense to do like a CFE deal? I mean, what he needs is really like a line of credit or some financing facility that he can reuse. Does it make any sense? Should I just walk away from it, or is there enough there, you think, to try to do like a CFE deal, which I think he would take, if I could represent the company and go try to set up some financing vehicles on his behalf? Does that make any
The
sense?
It does. Yeah, the challenge that I would say, the number one thing would be it's it's difficult to structure a CFE deal around getting somebody funding or even financing, because there are very often licenses that you need to have to do that. So I'm concerned about that. If it's ancillary or incidental to your other things you're doing, then generally there are some exceptions to that. So I just be wary of that to start with. Is there some other thing though, in terms of, like, financing is usually required to do something? Could we find a strategic partner? Could we creatively solve the problem that the money is hopefully going to solve without having to go and get the money?
Well, yeah,
Um,
it could be any of those things. It would be a contingency deal where, he grants me, let's say it's 30% of the company, and I go set those deals up.
yeah.
Whatever those may be, supplier loans,
That I
whatever.
love, and I love starting that with a consult. Start with the half-day consult or something that establishes that authority and relationship that you want to establish, where there's some exchange of money to you for doing a plan on how to do the stuff that then leads to, hey, you can go do that now, or let me do it for you, and here's how I would be willing to go do that. That to me is the perfect CFE scenario for what you're talking about.
Okay. Any, is it just that simple as far as doing like a contingency deal based on that? Like I mean, I could do the half day consult. That's easy to scope.
Yeah.
And then what, just for a piece of the business? And then, I mean, I think I would have to do some sort of contingency upon success, would be the only thing.
You can absolutely do that, but basically that's kind of like a variable comp deal when it's or milestones, you know. So here we're going to put out the plan, and it's going to the investment you're going to make to do that is during the consult that's going to last this long, and then we'll have a plan. At that point, we'll talk about how we might go forward together to execute the plan, or you can take your ball and go home and do it yourself, right?
Right,
If
right.
you want me to do it now, you will have learned a lot in that consult, which is the big reason we like to do that.
Yeah,
Right now, you'll know, do you want to do it or not? If you
right,
do, then you'll figure out what makes sense for you. And then you can either say, the only way I'm willing to go do this is if you give me part of the company. And very often they'll just say, okay. If not, then they might say, yeah, but what happens if I give you part of the company and then you can't do anything? And then you have the ability to say, okay, well, I'll tell you what, if I can't do this by this time, then I don't get it. Right now, you've got milestone or success fee, and just like an earnout, the negotiation is it that you tried? Because are you willing to try and through no fault of your own, it doesn't work out, or maybe the company doesn't provide you everything that it needs to
right.
provide
Yep.
because
There's two
right.
sides
So
to it for sure.
yeah, so
Yep.
that's the negotiation you'll go into after that. But I think it starts with the consult.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome.